You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. In July 2021, the serene capital of Pakistan was shaken by a crime so brutal, it stunned the nation and made headlines around the world. Noor Mukadam, a 27-year-old woman from a prominent diplomatic family, walked into the home of a man she once trusted. She never walked out. For 2 days, she was held captive. She begged for her life. She tried to escape, but no one helped her. When police arrived, they found a scene of unspeakable horror. The man responsible wasn't he a stranger in the shadows? He was part of Pakistan's elite. Educated abroad, wealthy, connected, and armed with the belief that he could get away with anything. What followed was a murder trial watched by millions, and a nation's reckoning with privilege, misogyny, and justice. This is not just the story of Noor Mukadam's death. This is the story of what happens when silence, power, and patriarchy collide. Chapter 1. The victim and the killer. Noor Mukadam was born into privilege, but her life ended in unimaginable horror. A 27-year-old woman from an elite diplomatic family, Noor was the daughter of Shaukat Mukadam, a veteran Pakistani diplomat who had served as ambassador to South Korea and Kazakhstan. She had attended top schools, lived in various countries, and returned to Pakistan, where she remained connected to Islamabad's affluent and influential circles. Known for her kind, gentle nature and creative pursuits, she represented a younger generation of Pakistanis cosmopolitan, educated, and independent-minded. Her accused killer, Zahir Jaffer, was also no stranger to privilege. He was the son of Zahir Jaffer and Asmat Adamji, both members of one of Pakistan's wealthiest business families. The Jaffers ran Ahmed Jaffer and Company, with long-standing ties to international business and politics. Zahir was an American citizen, having studied at Rutgers University in the United States. Despite a history of erratic behavior and possible substance abuse, he was still considered part of Islamabad's elite. Noor and Zahir had known each other for years. Their relationship, as later court documents and testimony showed, had oscillated between friendship and something more intimate. However, it was also marked by volatility. Noor had reportedly distanced herself from Zahir in the weeks leading up to her death. Friends said she had grown wary of his behavior, describing him as obsessive and emotionally unstable. This would all come to a head in July 2021, when Noor disappeared for nearly 2 days. What initially seemed like a missing persons case would unravel into one of the most gruesome and high-profile murders in Pakistan's recent history. Chapter 2. The Captivity and the Crime. On July 18, 2021, Noor left her home in Islamabad without informing her family. She would later be located at Zahir Jaffer's residence in Sector F7 quarters, a posh and tightly secured neighborhood of the capital. CCTV footage from outside Zahir's home showed Noor entering the house, apparently willingly, but not leaving again. According to police investigations, Noor was held against her will in Zahir's home for nearly 2 days. She was stripped of her phone, physically assaulted, and denied the freedom to leave. Surveillance footage from the home's security system confirmed that Noor made multiple attempts to escape. In one video, she is seen running toward the gate in a state of panic and distress. She even managed to open the gate once, but was stopped by the house's private security guard and dragged back inside by Zahir. Court documents and police testimonies revealed that despite her clear distress, The household staff, including the guard, a cook, and other domestic workers, failed to intervene. Some even informed Zahir when Noor attempted to flee. Their inaction would later lead to charges of aiding and abetting. During her captivity, Zahir contacted his parents and employees at Therapy Works, a private rehabilitation center where he had previously received treatment and where he later worked as a therapist. Rather than call the authorities, Zahir's parents allegedly advised him to manage the situation quietly. The staff from Therapy Works did eventually arrive at the house, but by then it was too late. On July 20th, in what police believe was a premeditated act of extreme violence, Zahir tortured Noor and beheaded her. Forensic reports confirmed multiple stab wounds, blunt force trauma, and signs of struggle. Noor's life had ended in an act of horrifying brutality inside a house where several people knew she was being held. Chapter 3: The Arrest and the Scene of Horror. At around 10 p.m. on July 20th, 2021, Islamabad police received a call from Zahir himself. He reportedly confessed to the killing in a disoriented state, claiming he had done something wrong. When officers arrived at the residence, they found Noor's decapitated body in a room upstairs. Her severed head was placed nearby. The murder weapon, a large knife, was also recovered from the scene. Zahir Jaffer was arrested immediately. According to police, he was covered in blood, incoherent, and initially uncooperative. However, he soon confessed to the crime in both oral and written statements. Over time, he would change his story multiple times, sometimes blaming mental illness, sometimes denying memory of the events. Authorities quickly sealed off the house and began collecting forensic evidence. The investigation revealed not only Zahir's culpability, but also raised questions about others' roles. Mobile phone records showed he had contacted his parents multiple times, both before and after the murder. Conversations with Therapy Works staff were also logged. Meanwhile, Noor's own phone was never recovered. DNA tests later confirmed that Noor had been sexually assaulted before her death. Bruises and signs of torture further indicated prolonged abuse. All of this information became part of a 500-page police charge sheet submitted to the courts in September 2021. The case shocked not just the public, but seasoned investigators. Islamabad police called it one of the most gruesome crimes in the capital's history. Yet it was the alleged complicity and the calculated efforts to cover up the murder that sparked even greater outrage. Chapter 4: A Nation in Mourning and Revolt. As news of Noor's murder spread, Pakistan erupted in grief and fury. Social media was flooded with hashtags like #Justice for Noor and #Say Her Name. Candlelight vigils were held in cities across the country. Prominent figures, actors, politicians, journalists demanded swift justice. The murder was not just seen as a personal tragedy, but a national indictment. For Pakistani women, Noor's story was painfully familiar. She was not a stranger on the street. She was someone from within her own community, killed by a man she had once trusted. It exposed the terrifying truth that status, education, and family connections could not guarantee safety. If it could happen to someone like Noor, it could happen to anyone. Feminist groups organized protests, calling attention to Pakistan's long-standing crisis of gender-based violence. In 2020 alone, over 2,000 women were reported killed in Pakistan, many in so-called honor killings. The state had often failed to intervene. Laws existed, but enforcement was inconsistent. Police rarely took domestic abuse seriously unless there was political pressure. Noor's case became a catalyst for renewed demands, for better laws, for faster prosecutions, and for accountability that extended beyond just the killer. The pressure mounted on the courts to ensure Zahir Jaffer would not escape justice due to wealth or connections. For the first time in years, civil society, the media, and ordinary citizens were united in their outrage. Noor had become more than a victim, she had become a symbol. Chapter 5: The Trial of Zahir Jaffer, The trial began in October 2021 under intense public and media scrutiny. Zahir Jaffer was charged with murder, rape, illegal confinement, and abduction. 10 other people, including his parents, domestic workers, and employees from Therapy Works, were also indicted for their roles in the incident. Zahir's courtroom behavior was erratic. He often interrupted proceedings, shouted at judges, and made contradictory statements. At one point, he claimed he was mentally ill and unfit to stand trial. The court ordered a psychiatric evaluation, which found no evidence of mental illness. He was declared fit for prosecution. His defense team shifted strategies multiple times, from claims of insanity to accusations of police misconduct. But the evidence was overwhelming. CCTV footage showed Noor's presence in the house. DNA evidence confirmed the assault. Witnesses, including the house staff and forensic experts, provided damning testimony. Meanwhile, Noor's father, Noor Mukadam, attended every hearing. He calmly addressed the court, demanding only one thing: justice for his daughter. His dignity and restraint in the face of unimaginable grief earned him widespread respect. Throughout the proceedings, delays and adjournments frustrated the public, but the prosecution remained firm. The trial wrapped up in early 2022, setting the stage for a judgment that would define public faith in Pakistan's justice system. Chapter 6: The Verdict and Its Aftershocks. On February 24th, 2022, a Pakistani court sentenced Zahir Jaffer to death for the murder of Noor Mukadam. The judgment also imposed a 25-year sentence for rape, 10 years for illegal confinement, and an additional fine. The guard and the cook were each sentenced to 10 years for aiding in the abduction and confinement. However, Zahir's parents and the Therapy Works staff were acquitted due to lack of sufficient evidence. While many celebrated the conviction of Zahir Jaffer, the acquittals sparked new outrage. Activists argued that the parents' involvement was clear from phone records and that their failure to alert police made them morally, if not legally, culpable. The state announced plans to challenge the acquittals in a higher court. International organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch commended the conviction but reiterated their opposition to capital punishment. Some legal experts noted that the case had set a precedent for handling gender-based violence, but warned that systemic reform was still needed. Noor's family issued a brief statement thanking the public and the legal system for their support, but they also reminded the nation that justice for one woman was not enough. Chapter 7: Legacy and Unfinished Business. In the years since Noor Mukadam's death, Pakistan has seen both progress and stagnation. Her case triggered national reflection, sparking new conversations about women's rights, legal reforms, and the toxic culture of male entitlement. But the violence has not stopped. In the months following her murder, other brutal cases made headlines, each one a reminder that Noor's death was part of a much larger epidemic. Laws have been proposed to strengthen protections, and educational campaigns have increased. Still, enforcement remains inconsistent. The hashtag Justice for NOOR movement has evolved into broader advocacy for gender justice in Pakistan. Her name is now invoked in workshops, policy papers, and school curricula. But for many, the true measure of justice will be whether her death leads to lasting change. Noor Mukadam was not just a victim of one man's violence. She was failed by the people around her, by a system that didn't act in time, and by a culture that normalizes control over women's lives. Her story may have ended, but its impact continues to ripple through Pakistan, demanding not just punishment, but transformation. That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.